Good day, dear cadets. Today we will continue our maritime law module, and the topic of today's presentation is United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, so called UNCLOS, UNCLOS Convention. The learning objectives of today's presentation is 3 points. So you have to gain knowledge, and after this presentation you will be able to define what is United Nations Convention of Law of the Sea, describe the content and the main purpose of this convention. So after this presentation also you will understand what is maritime zone, what are the maritime zones, and you will be able to apply and demonstrate knowledge in case studies, which will be taken during the module. UNCLOS Convention, also called as a just Law of the Sea Convention. So, and in the international agreement that resulted from the Third United Nations Conference on the Law of the Sea, which took place from 1973 through 1982. UNCLOS came into force in 1994. To date, up to 165 countries and the European community have joined in the convention. So, and some countries like United States and Kazakhstan also didn't sign this convention. And we need to understand that maritime law still working and still important for the international maritime businesses. The bulk of maritime law handles the process of carrying goods through the sea. Rules concerning protection and maintenance of ships at sea, the seafarers' lives, registration and damage, to the ships, marine insurance, and a lot of different aspects of maritime industry. Here you see the chart, the map of the world. So, and there are blue colored countries are countries which ratified and signed up for the UN Convention of Law of the Sea. So as you see, the United States and other countries with the red colors, the countries which didn't sign for the convention. Today, maritime law is considered as extremely vital for any type of occurrence on open water. The Law of the Sea Convention defines the rights and responsibilities of nations in their use of the world's oceans, establishing guidelines for businesses, the environment, and the management of marine natural resources. These laws are not limited to the transportation of goods or people. They are also involve how companies that their workers, how the workers get paid, or even how their protection is ensured while working on board of vessels. But we need to underline clearly that the most significant issues covered by this convention were setting limits, navigation at archipelagic status, and transit regimes, exclusive economical zone, EEZs, so continental shelf jurisdiction, deep sea bed mining, the exploration regime, protection of the marine environment, scientific research, and settlement of disputes. Settlements of disputes are very important. There are a lot of points where the interests of different countries are just intersected each other. So, and to avoid the criminal or military decisions, we need to apply the regulations of UN conventions of law of the sea. So this is very important convention. One of the pillar of the maritime law itself. So United Nations has no direct operational role in the implementation of the convention, while the Secretary General of the UN receives instruments of ratification and accession, and the UN provides support for meetings of states party to the convention. There is, however, a role played by organizations such as the International Maritime Organization and the International Whaling Commission and the International Seabed Authority, and other organizations also which are involved in the discussions and disputes, and which are the body to create internationally agreed regulations. So as you see, same chart here. So ratified, signed, but not ratified, not signed. So the Kazakhstan is also not party for the convention. As we already mentioned, that one of the most important, most significant point of the UNCLOS, it's a division of the whole world ocean in the maritime areas. So, and internationally agreed statuses of the sea waters right now is generally presented on the picture. First of all, we need to find the line from which country can count the territorial seas. So one of the most important points is a baseline. So baseline is a line of the lowest low water level, whereas sea level cannot go lower. So, and from this line, hydrographically approved, the territorial water starts. So territorial sea lasts for 12 nautical miles. There are some countries which try to say that they have a much more longer territorial waters, but international agreed standard is that territorial waters with length of 12 nautical miles from the baseline. So then we have contiguous zone, another 12 nautical miles. So then we have an exclusive economic zone. So we have continental shelf, high seas, the area, archipelagic waters, international straits. So all of them will be discussed during this presentation, and please try to memorize first of all. Second, try to get understanding the meaning of every sea zone, the rights, the responsibilities of country in relation with these areas and let's say maritime zones. So what we see here on the same picture as previous slide. So the baseline, so the line from which we count the territorial water. So it can be the straight baseline, yes, which are showing the lowest low water level, and any water body which is before the baseline, consider it as internal waters. So this is another presentation of the maritime zones. Here we have a territorial sea baseline. So the water level can be behind the baseline, and it can be higher than the territorial sea baseline. But as we said already, the baseline is measured from the lowest low water level. So territorial sea lasts for 12 nautical miles. As I already said that some countries can declare that the territorial waters are much longer, but some countries are just can say that it's enough for this country that they will have a coastal waters, yes, or territorial sea waters with a length of 3 nautical miles. So, but it's a very special situation. So then we have a contiguous zone, another 12 nautical miles. EEZ goes from territorial sea and lasts for up to 200 nautical miles, and continental shelf also can be going behind and longer than economical zone, exclusive economical zone. So as we already know, so the baseline is a line from which the country, the state, counts the territorial sea. There are two types of the way how we can define the baseline. So first way is a normal baseline. The normal baseline for the measuring of breadth of the territorial sea is the low water line along the coast as marked on large-scale charts officially recognized by the coastal state. So it should be printed, it should be issued officially by the hydrographic office of this state. So, and straight baseline in localities where the coastline is deeply indented and cut into the landward, or if there is a fringe of islands along the coast in the immediate vicinity, the method of straight baseline joining appropriate points may be employed in drawing the baseline from which the breadth of the territorial sea is measured. Of course, we can consider also the combined method of determining baseline. So combination of methods for determining baselines, the coastal state may determine baseline in turn by any of the methods provided for in the foregoing articles to suit different conditions. Area. Every state has the right to establish the breadth of its territorial sea up to the limit not exceeding 12 nautical miles, measured from baseline determined in accordance with the convention. So, and this territorial sea is 100% under the legislation of this country. The outer limit of the territorial sea is a line, every point of which is at the distance from the nearest point of the baseline equal to the breadth of the territorial sea. So we can consider the territorial sea as an extension of the land of the country, and all legislation is active on internal waters. All water bodies before the baseline, so on the landward side of the baseline, considered as the internal waters. So the base, yes, base. So for the purpose of this convention, a bay is a well-marked indentation whose penetration is in such proportion to the width of its mouth as to contain in landlocked waters and constitute more than a mere curvature of the coast. An indentation shall not, however, be regarded as a bay unless its area is larger as or larger than that on the semicircle whose diameter is line drawn across the mouth of that indentation. Where the distance between the low water marks of the natural entrance point of a bay exceeds 24 nautical miles. A straight baseline of 24 nautical miles shall be drawn within the bay in such a manner as to enclose the maximum area of water that is possible with a line of that length. There are also the term as a historical bay. Yes, historical bay can be considered with the entrance points of a bay more than 24 nautical miles, but it also leads to the kind of crisis situation. So, and historically we have some examples when the country can declare the historical bay, but other countries are not agreed with this declaration and also can take an action to prevent the limitation of the rights of international maritime business in this the territorial sea. But what we can do as a seafarers, can we enter the territorial sea of the country, of other foreign country, for example? Of course, yes, this is a term we use, innocent passage. So to pass from one high sea area to another and cross the territorial sea, we have right to make an innocent passage. Ships of all states, whether coastal or landlocked, enjoy the right of innocent passage through the territorial sea. But of course there are some conditions. Passage shall be continuous and expeditious. So what does it mean? It means that the vessel should enter the territorial sea, do not stop, do not anchor the vessel unless there is some medical or maybe technical emergencies, and the passage should be continuous and expeditious. However, passage includes stopping and anchoring, but only in so far as the same as incidental or ordinary navigation are rendered necessary by force majeure, so-called force majeure, or distress, or the purpose of rendering assistance to persons, ships, or aircraft in danger or distress. Passage is innocent so long as it is not prejudicial to the peace, good order of security of the coastal state. The Convention, Article 90, includes a list of activities prejudicial to the peace, good order of security of coastal state. It can be threat of use of force, exercise with weaponry, fishing, and propaganda. So this legislation was created in late 90s of the last century, when the whole world was divided on the almost two parts, communist ideology or capitalist ideology, and propaganda was also one of the weapons, yes, to send the information to the local population, to make some information, propagandic information to the local population, as I said. So, and it was completely prohibited if you are proceeding as a innocent passage. So, from the territorial sea, next zone is so-called contiguous zone, Article 33 of UNCLOS. In a zone contiguous to its territorial sea, described as a contiguous zone, the coastal state may exercise the control necessary to prevent infringement of its customs, fiscal, immigration, or sanitary laws and regulations within its territory or territorial sea. So what does it mean? The country has 100% rights to act as on its own land in territorial sea. But the contiguous zone gives the right to country to create a control regime, and it's kind of preparation to entry to the territorial sea for the foreign vessels, of course. So what we can say as a good example from the just recent years. So this is situation with COVID, yes, and to prevent vessels entry, uncontrolled entry to the territorial sea, the governments, coastal countries, coastal governments created the sanitary control lay on the contiguous zone. So in this area also, the country can punishment infringement of the above laws and regulations committed with its territory or territorial sea. The contiguous zone may not extend beyond 24 nautical miles from the baseline from which the breadth of the territorial sea is measured. What does it mean? It means 12 miles of territorial sea plus another 12 miles of contiguous zone. Next zone is exclusive economic zone. This is very important zone, especially in the days when we have highly and intensive exploration of the resources of the seas. The exclusive economic zone is an area beyond and adjacent to the territorial sea. In the exclusive economic zone, the coastal state has sovereign rights for the purpose of exploring and exploiting, conserving and managing the natural resources, whether living or non-living, of the waters super-adjacent to the seabed and of the seabed and its subsoil, and with regard to other activities for the economic exploration of the zone, such as the production of energy from the water, currents and winds. So, in simple words, what we have? We have, the resources of the ocean, and the country with exclusive economic zone can create the, own research, own exploration, own exploiting, organizations or companies, or it can give a permission to other countries, to foreign companies, to some corporations to work on this EEZ, exclusive economic zone. So, and get some benefits from these explorations. So, jurisdiction as provided for in relevant provisions of the convention with regard to the establishment and use of artificial islands, installations and structures, marine scientific researches. So this is very important, especially in the modern days. Yes, the protection and preservation of the marine environment. The exclusive economic zone shall not extend beyond 200 nautical miles from the baseline from which the breadth of the territorial sea is measured. So everything goes to the baseline. Continental shelf. This is also this coastal state comprises the seabed and subsoil of the submarine areas that extend beyond its territorial sea throughout the natural prolongation of its land territory to the outer edge of the continental margin, or to a distance of 200 nautical miles from the baselines from which the breadth of the territorial sea is measured, where the outer edge of the continental margin does not extend up to the distance. But the outer limit of the continental shelf shall not exceed 350 nautical miles from the baselines from which the breadth of territorial sea is measured. In nowadays, what kind of example we can just give? So the Russian Federation, Canada, Danish, country. They are, and also United States, of course, they are making a lot of scientific researches to prove that the continental shelf is going much longer than 200 nautical miles in the polar waters, because this area in the north polar areas, yes, there are uncovered, still hidden resources for billions and billions and billions of dollars. So these countries are trying to extend their continental shelf beyond this 200 nautical miles distance. High seas. So high seas regime applies in all parts of sea that are not included in the exclusive economic zone, in the territorial sea, or in the internal waters of a state, or in the archipelagic waters in an archipelagic state. So all these, open waters, so open seas, or we can say high seas, are not belong to, they don't belong to any country. The high seas are open to all states, whether coastal or landlocked. It comprises inter alia, both for coastal and landlocked states. So what we have in the high seas? We have freedom of navigation. So you can sail in any direction with any speed. Freedom of overflight. So the aircrafts fly over these areas without any permission or need for this permission. Freedom to lay submarine cables and pipelines. Freedom to construct artificial islands and other installations permitted under the international law. Freedom of fishing, freedom of scientific research. So this is very important area, and it's in the focus of different countries, yes. The area and its resources are the common heritage of mankind. So it's considered as a heritage of all countries, all people in the world. No state shall claim or exercise sovereignty or sovereign rights over any part of the area or its resources, nor shall any state or natural or judicial person appropriate any part thereof. No such claim or exercise of sovereignty or sovereign rights, nor such appropriation shall be recognized. And of course, the United Nations, other organizations are just in control, in charge of these areas. All rights in the resources of area are vested in the mankind as a whole, on whose behalf of authority shall act. Now let's talk about straits used for international navigation. Of course, we have oceans. Yes, it's a huge body of waters. Yes, but they are connected to each other. So in most of the ways they are connected to each other is through the straits. So, and we have straits used for international navigation. Straits used for the international navigations are straits which are used for international navigation between one part of the high seas or an exclusive economic zone and another part of the high sea or an exclusive economic zone. So they are connecting these areas. In international straits, all ships and aircraft enjoy the right of transit passage, which shall not be impeded. So in the normal time, the vessels, aircraft, they just use this right of the transit passage. Transit passage means the exercise of the freedom of navigation and overflight solely for the purpose of continuous and expeditious transit between one part of the high seas or an exclusive to another part of high seas. States bordering may designate sea lanes and prescribe traffic separation schemes for navigation in straits where necessary to promote the safe passage of ships. There shall be no suspensions on transit passage. So in this type of straits, of course, what we have dense navigation, so a lot of vessels, and to create the right order to increase the safety of marine traffic, the countries, or neighboring countries, or countries from these two sides of strait can create the TSS, so-called traffic separation scheme. Geography of our world on the planet so consists of not only big countries on the continents, but also archipelagic states. Yes, archipelagic states means a state constituted wholly by one or more archipelagos and may include other islands. As a good example, we can say Indonesia, so which is consisted of 17,508 islands. So archipelago means a group of islands, including part of islands. So an archipelagic state may draw straight archipelagic baselines joining the outermost points of the outermost islands of the archipelago, provided that within such baseline are included the main islands and an area in which the ratio of the area of water to the area of the land, including atolls, is between 1:1 and 9:1. The length of such baselines shall in principle not exceed 100 nautical miles. This is again creates the territorial seawater for this type of countries as a huge territory, yes, but also there is archipelagic passage we have. So we will talk about this just a little bit later. Yes, the breadth of the territorial sea, the contiguous zone, the EEZ, and the continental shelf shall be measured from the archipelagic baseline. So here you see the example. Yes, this is Malaysia, Indonesia. So these countries are so many islands there. So archipelagic states, Philippines, this is another example. So in the almost middle of the Indian Ocean, we have Maldives. Yes, Maldives, so beautiful islands. So, and this is also archipelagic country. Archipelagic states, sea lane, archipelagic sea lane passage. How we can explain it? The breadth of the territorial seas, the contiguous on the EEZ and continental shelf shall be measured from archipelagic baseline drawn in accordance with Article 47. The sovereignty of an archipelagic state extends to the waters enclosed by the archipelagic baseline. This sovereignty extends to the airspace over the archipelagic waters, as well as to their bed and subsoil and the resources contained therein. All ships and aircraft enjoy the right of archipelagic sea lanes passage in such sea lanes and air routes. Archipelagic sea lanes passage means exercise in accordance with the Convention of the Rights of Navigation and Overflight in the normal mode solely for the purpose of continuous, expeditious and unobstructed transit between one part of high seas to another. So, once again, the vessels, the aircrafts can freely pass the archipelagic waters, the air above the archipelagic waters, but no obstructions, no military exercises, weapon exercises, no propaganda, no fishing. You have to use this water and air only for the purpose of transit, only for the purpose of passage. At the end of this presentation, I want to explain this picture again. So what we have here, so we have before the baseline, we have inner waters. So it can be bays, it can be rivers, yes, entering the sea. So, and here you have example of the normal baseline and straight baseline. When the coastal line is indented, yes, so we can find out the points, yes, and connect them, and we can create a straight baseline. From this line we can measure 12 nautical miles to create territorial sea, and another 12 miles for the contiguous zone. So if we have island, so the island which is belonging to this country also creates the area of the territorial sea. This dark blue color is coastal water, so it's territorial sea. So from it's coastal waters. Yeah, coastal waters. It's coastal waters. Yes. Usually the length of the coastal waters is 3 nautical miles. From the baseline, we create a territorial sea. This is colored territorial sea, 12 nautical miles. Every point on this line is on the same distance of 12 nautical miles from the baseline. So contiguous zone. Contiguous zone, it's 12 nautical miles adjacent to the territorial sea. This island is on the distance, yes, so, and it means that it has own coastal waters and territorial sea. So what we have contiguous zone between territorial sea part of this country and here. So, and in this zone, the country creates sanitary, custom, taxation regulations for preparation to enter territorial sea, to the territorial sea. Then, from the baseline, 200 nautical miles, it's EEZ. EEZ lasts for 200 nautical miles. So continental shelf may extend beyond the EEZ, but not more than 350 nautical miles. Of course, United Nations Convention of Law of the Sea is much more wider, much more deeper. We cannot cover it and learn it, fully during only one presentation. Even one model will be not enough, I believe. But anyway, out of this presentation, you have to gain the main definitions for the baseline, territorial sea, the contiguous zone, EEZ, continental shelf, and so on. So not only definition, but also you have to gain understanding. Why you need to know it? As a seafarer, as a future officer of the watch, doesn't matter, it will be on the engine room or on the bridge. So you have to know your rights and your obligations. So as a foreign vessel, you have to enter territorial sea of another country, and you have to act accordingly to the regimes of this country, to the legislation of this country. And the UNCLOS gives you clear understanding, clear definitions of territorial sea, easy, and so on, so on, so on. All these terms are important. So at the end of this presentation, I want to say that definitions and understanding is most important to application. Yes, you cannot apply the knowledge if you have no understanding. But before understanding, of course, you need to read closely all these definitions. So at this point, I finish the presentation. Wish you good luck and good knowledge.